Cooley's doing this straight.
Six down, 4 to go. We now witness the Sunrisers Hyderabad in action for the first time in the IPL. Can they make it 4 home wins out of 4 for the home teams at the start of this season? It certainly is proving to be an advantage. And they come up against a Rajasthan Royals side that just missed out last year. But there is renewed optimism for them. They are favourites for a lot of players, a lot of people, a lot of pundits in our studio. And we look ahead to that one in Hyderabad on ESPN Cricket for T20 time. Our Tom Moody, for the first time in recent memory or in his memory, for a Sunrisers game in studio. Good afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon, and I'm looking forward to this one. It's a very new team, and also they're going back home, and they've, every team's, welcomed back into their home den, if I could put it that way. And most teams have won, I think. Most home games have won, so no pressure, Sunrisers.
In case though, you have some form of emotion that overwhelms you, we have Deep Dasgupta to keep you company today.
Thank you.
It's a very good afternoon to Deep, who's taken the first flight out from Lucknow last night, where he enjoyed Mark Wood cranking it up. That was an experience.
Oh, it was exciting. Just unbelievable when you see somebody bowl as quick as that.
Yeah, he set the standard, Mark Wood. Now, can Umran Malik match it? Because that's the other pace sensation that we're looking forward to seeing. Can he back up the season he had last year? Can Sunrisers have a different season under a different setup? For now, it's Bhuvaneshwar Kumar who will captain as Aiden Markram completes international duty. He is a new captain for the franchise as well in the IPL. But they've done the first bit right. They've won the toss and they will bowl first. And Bhuvi, charming, polite man that he is, just taking a dig at Tom Moody by saying that he's very happy to have new coaching staff and fresh ideas. You're going to have a word with him about that?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, no problem. It's really noisy. It's the only conversation worth having after these tosses is the naming of the 4 overseas players, which captains do well to remember. And it looks like Harry Brook, we knew Harry Brook is going to play, Glenn Phillips and Adil Rashid. And we also have Fazalak Farooqi playing today. Remember, the 3 South Africans in that team not available today. Markram, Heinrich Klaassen and Marco Janssen. We didn't mention Fazalak Farooqi, but you know him well enough looking into this game. That's a good sort of replacement player to have.
Absolutely. I think he's currently ranked 3 in the ICC rankings of T20 cricket. So, the thing with Farooqi, he brings unique skills. He's good with the new ball, can swing it both ways. So he's got the ability to take wickets. So certainly Sunrisers will be a threat during the power play with Bhuvi and Farooqi to start with. And he's also got good closing skills. He's got good change of pace. So, look, he's an absolute bonus to have, on the bench to come into the side to give you that variety. And
there was a case, Deep, that if there is a team or a few teams that could play an all-Indian bowling attack, it is actually Sunrisers. And as we just bring up how good their home record has been, it perhaps is something which you may or may not have fresh in memory. Of the a technical glitch. None of the mics seem to be picking up. Someone tried to suppress our voice, but we have prevailed. Back we are right now to continue this conversation. Tom, mic check.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
I thought you'd do something more.
What? Do you want me to sing?
Yeah, something more exciting. Let's get creative. Deep, give me a mic check.
Check, cash, Paytm.
Oh, wow. Careful now. Are they paying you for this? Yeah. All right. I think we're good now. Apologies for that slight glitch. It is a Sunday afternoon. We're all in our casual Sunday attire. And we love it. It's been styled by H&M. And now you can hear us. So let's move forward, shall we? The home record for the Sunrisers Hyderabad has been so impressive. We talk about the Chepauk being a fortress, or Wankhede, which perhaps in recent years might have taken a bit of a toll with games still being played in Mumbai. But 68% of wins in Hyderabad. I'll get Tom's views on that too, but I was a little surprised by that. It didn't quite strike me that Hyderabad are only second to Chennai.
I'm actually not surprised if you think about it. They've always been bowling heavy and they've always had a really good bowling unit. And and they've got the pitch. They prepare it, they curate it based on their bowling attack. And I'm actually not surprised to see those numbers there.
Tom?
Yeah, that's why they need new ideas, obviously, to improve that percentage.
Second is not good enough. It is the same set of core team, though, that we are talking about. And Bhuvaneshwar Kumar is captain. I wonder if it's a big deal that you just have him for one captain. Fair placeholder as you may need him, Bhuvi, as captain?
Yeah, look, Bhuvi's done a good job when he's filled in with that captaincy role before. You know, clearly they had to make the decision with the captaincy this year, and it was always going to be an interesting decision to which way they were going to turn. But Markram had the success with the Sunrisers franchise in the South African League, and that obviously, I think, pushed the case for Markram to be the overarching captain both in India and South Africa. But Bhuvi, a lot of IPL experience. He's a highly regarded, respected player, obviously, but also person amongst the group. So there's stability there.
All right. Now we will get to team news for both sides, with Sunrisers giving us their bowling first 11 and Rajasthan having then confirmed their batting first 11, and we'll make for a nice chat with the impact subs when we have it. But no real surprises for Rajasthan with the naming of the 4 overseas, and Jason Holder is in it. There was some chat, would they name the 4th overseas? Would they possibly make that call as an impact sub and afford to play the extra Indian player? But Butler, Hetmeyer, Holder and Bolt. And essentially Jason Holder is the only significant change to that team, along with Prasid's absence. They've got KM Asif Deep. Otherwise it's more or less the same team. So you'd think this is one of the few teams that hasn't made too many drastic changes. They should have a good captain.
Absolutely. Even, I mean, look at the auction as well. I don't think they had too many holes any which way. So, and they had a fabulous season. Last one around, so they really don't need to. It's just that to pick up from where they had left last season and move on. And most of them are in really good nick as well. It's, I mean, look at someone like Josh Butler or even Jason Holder and all that. They've been in good nick. Yeah,
Jason Holder has been named in this team. His bowling will be a big part of their plans, you would think. They sort of struggle with that balance with the 4 overseas they had last year, Rajasthan. Phase-wise, Jason Holder has become a much improved T20 bowler, and I think Tom Moody will have a good sort of conversation on this, because it looked like the reinvention of Jason Holder was when he was brought in as a replacement player in T20 cricket in that IPL for the Sunrisers. Tom.
Yeah, look, he's a great addition to Rajasthan, filling that gap that they clearly had last year, even though they made the final. But interesting enough, this impact sub rule came after the auction, and I just wonder whether Rajasthan would have been, clamouring to get that all-rounder, to find that perfect balance. So they've got it both ways now. But Holder, look, what he's done is he's really worked on his change of pace. So he's obviously 6'7", 6'8", so he's tall. When he's coming down from that steep height, that change of pace really does kick into the pitch and bounce awkwardly, and I think that's where he does really well. And he's well suited to this Hyderabad ground because it's big square, so he'll be bowling that hard length on top of the stumps with that change of pace and forcing the batters to be hitting him square of the wicket to those big sides. 9.54
that economy at the death. Would you take that? And also in this team without Prasidh Krishna now, I wonder who takes death bowling responsibilities. Is Bolt your death bowler? Is Asif going to be your death bowler?
Yeah, I think Bolt will definitely bowl 1, if not 2, but it just depends. If it's swinging early, you want Bolt, to be, bowling at least 2 overs in the power play, because his ability to take wickets in the power play is so valuable. Jason Holder gives them, depth and options, both in power play overs, but also he can bowl at, I wouldn't be leaving Holder with 2 death overs, but definitely giving him 1. So they've got the flexibility to use, different options.
All right, as far as the Sunrisers go, if you look at how good their pace attack was in the last season, it pretty much was responsible for that period of play that they had where they won 5 on the trot, and you have more or less a similar cast in that Marco Janssen's missing out today. All 3 of those players play, and that's a good thing, Deep, because we're always wondering at the start of a season, is Natarajan fit? Are we going to see him play a full season? If he's starting today, that's good signs. Can we expect big things from him?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, now obviously they missed him. They missed him last season. He was their kind of the bowler to go to the previous season. So it's good to have him back, and they have so much of variety in their bowling as well. And that team also tells me what kind of pitch we are expecting. 4 seamers, 4 proper seamers. Add Farooqi there as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting actually that that bowling unit.
Okay, let's have some fun with the 11s. We know the 11s, so let's see what Sunrisers identified as their strongest bowling first 11 for their opening encounter. It's a mouthful, but that's how we're getting used to describing cricket after tosses now in the IPL. So you've got 4 seamers, as Deep Dasgupta points out: Bhuvi, Natarajan, Umran Malik, and Fazalak Farooqi. So 2 left-armers, 2 right-handers. Adil Rashid has been given his SRH debut. Exciting season if he fires. And you've got Washington Sundar left of screen who can bowl, Abhishek Sharma who can bowl. Like the look of that Tom Moody with 7 bowling options and pretty much all types of bowling covered?
Yeah, it's a very good bowling attack, there's no question. They've got high pace with Umran Malik. They've got swing, both left and right arm swing. They've got the death skills, obviously, of Natarajan, and 2 very different spin options with Washington Sundar, who can bowl power play overs. Adil Rashid, who's hugely underrated in I think IPL cricket, not in world cricket because he's done so well for England, but in IPL cricket he's yet to really have any traction or opportunity, but he's a serious bowler.
Deep, good side?
Good side, really good side, and it'll be interesting to see the impact player.
Yes.
You were mentioning about the impact player before we started the show, and that's going to be interesting who they get. I'm sure because of they've gone in with 4 bowlers. Obviously, one of them will be replaced for sure with another batter in there. Yes, but looks like a really good side and exciting side, because last time when I saw that team, I was like that there seemed to be too many holes there. There seemed to be not too many exciting players, but obviously Abhishek came through. He had a very good season, but this time around with Harry Brooks, Glenn Phillips in there, Mayank added too. I mean, there's a lot more meat to that bone now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that without defending last year, but those holes.
I thought you might.
Those holes were created through injury. You know, Washington Sundar was a massive blow, and then Natarajan. So that really sort of blew things apart. And then obviously you had Kane Williamson, who had that indifferent season, which was a bit of an outlier, and a lot of that was to do with his injured elbow as well.
Yeah, I guess anyone.
So we'll just put it to bed.
Okay. This is the much easier season to coach Sunrisers, is basically what Tom said.
Exactly.
Right, they've got a better side. Obviously,
anyone would have struggled last year.
It's like a hand of aces.
Yeah, I would have coached them to the title this year. Let's not get too carried away. We're having some fun as we see the Sunrisers in action. Of course, we have our own, you could say, interests over there. Gaurav Sundar Aman, who's been such a big part of ESPN Cricket Infos programming, has now been loaned to the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Let's see if they pay him back with some interest, but we hope he does well. They did very well with the SA20, so that's a good start, because this is obviously a new time for the franchise, and do you sense there'll be some kind of positive hangover, if I could call it that? They've named Markram captain perhaps on the basis of that, but their success in the SA20, will it count for anything?
Yeah, look, I think so, but I think, to be honest with you, probably a little bit of that momentum will be lost because the South Africans aren't here.
Yes.
You know, so the 3 South Africans, only 2 of them were playing in that. Klaassen was playing it for another franchise, but both Marco Jansen and Markram were pivotal to that success in South Africa. They're not here, so you know, a lot of the people that are currently in Hyderabad in that dressing room, you know, are probably being told that, oh, by the way, we won in South Africa.
Yeah, all right, brilliant. Let's have a look at those impact subs now, which Deep wanted to see, which we all want to see. Now, Abdul Samad features. He's been with the franchise for a while, retained ahead of the big auction. It's nice to see that Vivran Sharma, who, funny enough, Abdul Samad and Umran Malik sort of recommended to the franchise, picked up for just under 3 crore at the auction. He's a hard-hitting all-rounder, so he features there. They've got Mayank Dagar as well, who can be a lower order hitter. Upendra Yadav, the Railways wicketkeeper bat, is in that, and Mayank Markande, who we think is unlikely to be used given that Hyderabad are bowling first. So we're looking at 4 lower order batting options, I guess, there, Deep.
Absolutely, yes, and it'll be interesting to see who they go for. I mean, obviously one of the bowlers will be replaced, and it'll be Samad or Vifrant. Obviously Samad, they've invested a lot in him, so chances are, and obviously Tom was talking about that change.
Since he still gets team information, which I don't know if it's
not
according to the rules.
Not at all. But the obvious change there is Umran Malik for Samad. Samad's a very good power hitter, and now I can say it. I think he was probably unfairly left out of the side early last year, which can happen through pressures outside of the cricketing circle.
Better you than me. Yeah.
But the thing is that this kid can bat.
Oh yeah,
He's a serious hitter of the ball.
And I completely agree. And going back to that point about Sunrisers winning in South Africa, so the players, most of them didn't win it, but neither was the coaching staff, most of them weren't there, but the owners did.
Yeah.
So would that put more pressure on Sunrisers Hyderabad to perform? Because for the owners, they won South Africa.
There's always pressure,
Yeah.
coming from upstairs, and clearly every franchise has that pressure. And that's one of the things from a management perspective, is that you find yourself managing upwards more than downwards.
Yeah.
To try to keep everyone in a positive and a free. We always talk about T20 cricket. You want to play with freedom. Well, you can't play with freedom when you feel the weight of the world coming down on top of you.
Which is why it's always best to just be an analyst in studio. Work with us.
Yeah.
Make more money. There we go. No?
You're kidding, right?
I was just trying to see where we stand. And no one ever tells me how much coaches
Hang on, let me just move this field. Let's just move him a little bit finer.
Okay, I feel bad now, almost pulling Tom Moody's very large legs on this show. So let's start talking about the Rajasthan Royals more than the Sunrise. It's Jos Buttler, right? Every time there's an IPL, all eyes on Buttler. He is pivotal to their success. He snatched the orange cap last year, had the kind of season that you would only dream of. And here you have him as one of the 4 overseas. Hetmeyer, Bolt and Holder we've mentioned. KM Asif will likely replace Prasidh Krishna's role in that team. They had the option of either Kuldeep Sen or Sandeep Sharma. Not quite sure what injury status is, but Asif is the preferred option. Otherwise, the rest of the team picks itself. This is, of course, the batting first team. Right. So I'm curious to see if they could have optimized. They've got a few number 11s there. There's Bolt, there's Asif, there's Chahal. Yeah.
Bolt is all right. Bolt's
last year Bolt did
Bolts
some
are bad.
funny things.
Obviously, Jason Holder is going to bat before Bolt and all that. It's going to be interesting because it's the first day game, right? And batting first, they have the option the second half to have a look at the pitch and go with either a seam bowler or a spinner. Yeah. So I hope they have those options in their impact player list.
Yeah. We'll try and bring those up as soon as we can. But give me a quick comment on Asif as the preferred choice. I thought Kuldeep Sen might get there. I don't know if he's injured or not.
Fair enough. I mean, that's what I was thinking as well, because he was really good, very impressive last season. But I think the fact that Asif's been around, he's been with CSK for a while. He's played a few games, and I think that experience might help, and maybe that's the reason they've gone with KM Asif. And also domestically, I think he's had if I can remember correctly, he's had a fairly good season as well.
All right, we'll just give you those impact sub options as well. Remember, Rajasthan are batting first, so maybe they'll get in a Kuldeep, or specialist bowler will come in for the second half. So we don't rule that out just yet. I'm sure at some point we'll get that. Just trying to get that as soon as we can for you. Let's talk a little more about Jos Buttler, though. And we've got Matt Roller, who's followed English cricket and T20 cricket better than most of us. We've seen what Buttler can do in the IPL, but Matt always triggers an interesting talking point or two. Let's head to him now.
Jos Buttler's 2022 was one of the all-time great IPL seasons. Buttler scored 863 runs, including 400s, as Rajasthan reached their first IPL final since 2008. Buttler scored pretty quickly across the season, striking at just under 150 for the tournament. But notably, he took a pretty low-risk approach early on in his innings, generally looking to play low-risk, proper cricket shots during the power play and to pierce the infield rather than playing over the top. One of the reasons for Buttler's approach was the fact that Rajasthan had a bowling-heavy team throughout the tournament. They generally fielded 5 frontline bowlers and a tail-end batter at number 8. As a result, as you can see, Buttler generally scored significantly slower at the start of his innings for Rajasthan in 2022 compared to for England. What will be interesting to track for Rajasthan this year is whether that changes with the addition of, firstly, Jason Holder, a genuine all-rounder at the auction, and secondly, an impact player, which means that they should have an extra batter and therefore more depth this season. But will that actually have any significant impact on Buttler's role, or will he still look to play himself in before exploding late on in his innings?
Okay, good question. Are we expecting Jos Buttler to bat slightly differently, given he's playing at a slightly higher tempo for England? Tom?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see those numbers, and we did sort of make comment. Certainly not. I wasn't in this chair, but watching Rajasthan last year from the Sunrisers seat, we did look at the lack of depth in their batting. So you can understand the conservative approach from Buttler. I'd imagine Buttler will do just what suits him on the
Yeah.
day. I think, you know, his experience is great enough to sort of just gauge the temperature on the day, and if it means that he's, you know, hitting 15 or 20 off the first over, well, he'll do it if the ball's in his area. I don't think he'll sort of look to find any particular tempo. I think the tempo will naturally come to him.
But going by that, by those numbers, I mean, the template's still the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, the strike rate's a lot lesser in the IPL last season, but it from 100 it goes up to 120 in international cricket, and then it moves. So if you look at the template-wise, it's how he plays. I mean, it was kind of slower for Rajasthan for the reasons that you've mentioned and Matt mentioned, and but idea is still the same. First 20 odd deliveries or 10, 15 deliveries, just get yourself in, and then and that's the thing. Even last season and last year or so, if Josh Butler's there after 15 balls, you starting to get scared a bit then.
Yeah, I think the key to the very best players is they find a point around that sort of 10 to 15 ball mark where they get themselves in, they've got the foundation of their innings, and then they press the button, and they have the ability then to find the boundaries at will, and then they identify particular bowlers they can target. But it's getting themselves in as the start, but then having the ability to really ramp it up, which Butler has got a great skill in doing so.
Would you at all have a chat with a player like Butler on how to bat? You just assume he figures it out on his own? Or do you say, now we've got Jason Holder, now it's a different kind of team? So do you have any kind of conversation with him?
You definitely have a conversation with him, but you talk, you'd ask questions. The conversation wouldn't be about you telling Butler. You'd be just saying, how you feeling? You know, what thoughts around this season? Just questions and just casual conversation. He knows his game inside out, so there's nothing that I can do to build on that. But what I can do is make him feel comfortable by just making sure that there is that communication. Because sometimes with the very best players, they can feel isolated because everyone thinks they're okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, just checking in with your best players is important.
And I guess the other thing, and I guess you'll agree with it as well, because a lot of time your team game plan depends on key players and what they are thinking and how they are thinking about the team and their place in the side as well, or their role in the side as well. So I think that conversation becomes very, very important to kind of even figure out the team plans.
Okay, let's have a quick look at Rajasthan's impact sub options. We've now got them figured out and finalized. So let's take a look, because there are at least a few bowlers over there we'd have ideally loved to just bring in later. But this is what we had also discussed on preview content on T20 Timeout. We wouldn't expect too many drastic, premeditated moves of leaving a specialist bowler out and bringing him in later. You want to pick your best 11, and Rajasthan have done something pretty much on those lines. Anyway, I guess we'll just wait a moment before we get that impact sub in, but should make for an interesting conversation. Now, Harry Brook. Talk about Josh Butler. Harry Brook has got all of us very excited. It's going to be a first IPL. He's been picked up for huge money, where we thought the attention for a team like Sunrisers would be on either Stokes or Curran or Cameron Green, who were the three big all-rounders at that auction. They seem to have gone all out for Harry Brook. Normally we say it's a risk to put so much money on an overseas player who's not played in the IPL. Does Harry Brook quite have the same feeling?
I don't think this is a risk, because I think this is a long-term play. I feel that Sunrisers have identified a very, very exciting young player. I think he's only about 23 years old, and they see him as a 10-year plus project. So a lot of people will look back in time and think, gosh, they got him at a steal. He's now part of that franchise, a bit like an A.B. de Villiers was for RCB. This young man, in all three formats, he's absolutely nailed it. And he's done it in a very similar style, where he's done it with this great freedom and skill of just taking attacks apart. And it's going to be thrilling to watch him. Yes, the IPL is a different stage, but he's taken to every new stage that he's been offered very, very easily.
And most importantly, I think he plays spin very well as well. One of the things that when you look at especially an English or an Australian batter, you're like, how good is he against spin? How good would be in, let's say, Chennai or somewhere where it's a 140, 150 pitch? And I think Harry Brook's a really good batter against spin as well. He's got all the shots. So I think, it's a win-win. And quickly, I mean, do you see in 2-3 years all these franchises in different leagues aligning together, where Sunrisers can say, you know what, Harry Brooks, he can play in the South for Sunrisers in the South African League and in IPL as well. Maybe 2-3 years down the line, all these leagues will align and say, you know what, you've got 4 teams in different comms.
Similar set of players.
Similar set of
Yeah. Look, this is probably for another show because this is a good discussion. But I certainly see cricket potentially in the future being a bit like football, where the franchises give the players back to the countries for major events, whether they're ICC events or whether they're major test series, whatever it may be. And I think a lot of the franchises are planning accordingly. You look at what Mumbai Indians have done with Jofra Archer.
Yeah. And like football, the fans can rally around the manager or the head coach and have a go at the owners if they need to. So the fans play a big part in football. All right. Let's move on, shall we? Let's look at those Rajasthan impact subs. Bring them in before I misbehave any further. Sandeep Sharma is there. Now remember, they are batting first, so they have the option of an extra bowler. It could be the leg spinner Murugan Ashwin, Sandeep Sharma, Dhruv Jurel, Navdeep Saini is there as well. So interesting to see who they will finally go with. And Donovan Ferreira, one of their overseas picks, also on the bench. But again, he cannot be impacted given they've named 4 already. So he's pretty much there just as a backup sub option if needed.
Yeah, I mean, are you looking at seamers and spinner? I mean, Murugan Ashwin is the only spinner there. So yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting to see because obviously that would depend on how this pitch behaves after the first
So either Saini, Sandeep or Murugan Ashwin is the call
depending,
they'd have. Right. I'm just looking at those batters to see who's going to put their hand up and say, I don't want to field. $50 says Hetmaya. Anyone else? Anyone?
I don't think so. No, I don't think Hetmaya is going to do that. He's a good fielder. I would want him.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. We'll see.
Stop it.
Right.
Stop it.
Okay. But as this game comes our way, of course, we will have you covered with a conversation on the IPL. We've got Sunrisers Rajasthan now, RCB Mumbai in the evening. But we did wake up to the news of the passing of one of India's most colourful, celebrated cricketers. Salim Durrani passed away at the age of 88 today in Jamnagar. So let's just have a quick chat as we remember Salim Durrani, who played 29 tests, it was, for India between 1960 and 1973. And of course, born in Kabul, was featured. It was a nice gesture by the BCCI to have him part of that 2018 India-Afghanistan test when the 2 teams played together for the first time. Deep Dasgupta, memories, I'm sure at some game or so you might have said hello to him or seen him somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was one of my dad's favourite cricketers. He's an enigma, right? He would win games with the ball, with the bat, and he would do it as well. That's what I've heard. You know, he would just wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm going to get 100, and he would actually get it. And he would say, you know, I'm going to pick 5 wickets and stuff like that. So he would actually, I mean, these are the stories that I've grown up listening to. And I remember actually meeting him once. It was late 90s at Eden Gardens, and obviously I've heard of him, never met him before that. Rohan Gavaskar, who was my teammate then, Rohan obviously knew him, had met him before. He was like, he went up and he introduced us to him and all. You can still see that colourfulness, you know, all that. I mean, that
charming man,
charming man that he was. I mean, was absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, he's got so many stories. If you sit around people of that generation, they will have endless number of stories.
Yeah. Tom, any recollection or memory?
Look, from my understanding, he had the game to be playing what we're going to be witnessing in a couple of minutes' time.
Yeah, that's
IPL
true.
cricket.
That's true.
He had a dynamic game, all-rounder, liked to take the game on, and that's what IPL cricket's about.
Yeah. And he was made for the cameras. Good-looking man.
Yes.
I think Devanand offered him a film once. Did a little bit of work in the film industry. So that was just tailor-made.
Huge heart.
Would have been a superstar.
Huge heart. This is one of the stories I've heard. He was walking past a beggar, and it was like a cold evening, and he opened his blazer and gave it to him because poor chap was feeling cold. I mean, huge heart. Huge.
You've got a good cricket story as well. Something you've heard before a test match.
Yeah, apparently there was a test match against West Indies at Eden Gardens, and Salim Bhai being Salim Bhai, he did not get his kit. Right, so he did not have a bat. So morning of the game, he went to a sports shop. I'm not going to name that sports shop, but he went to the sports shop, got that shop open, picked up a bat off the rack, went and got runs with that, just straight away off the rack.
Well, they don't make him like Salim Durrani anymore. Remembered very fondly across generations of Indian cricket with notable performances in what was a short career, tends to be at those times, but none more so than India's historic win in Port of Spain in 1971. Jeet Wadekar, test match, of course, more fondly, more notably known for Sunil Gavaskar's Test debut. So remember Salim Durrani, and it's nice to see that even at Hyderabad, that there was a mention on the big screen and the fans applauding, the players observing a moment as well. So good stuff all round in the family of Indian cricket today. Right, thank you very much to Tom Moody and Deep Dasgupta. Let's get a prediction. Scores. Tom's been very good with this.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm thinking around about 186.
186.
Oh, okay. Seamers. I'm going to go with 175.
175, 186. Let's see 200 breached.
Whoa!
Let's see it. But not for this game. I'm going to go 194. All right, let's see where we stand at halftime. Join us then for ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout. And make sure you download the ESPN Cricket Info mobile app. If you haven't already, head over to the App Store or Play Store and get the fastest live scores, news you can trust, the sharpest analysis. It'll have you covered right through the IPL as well. We'll see you at the end of the Rajasthan innings.